Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Umineko. I was talking to someone in the comments about this, and it is just kind of like Battler being at a movie theater, watching them about to go down a dark alley where we previously seen that the killer is awaiting, and Battler's just screaming at the screen, "No, stop!" and everyone's kind of throwing popcorn at Battler, telling him to shut up, that kind of thing. Except for there's nobody to throw popcorn, but, you get the idea. Let's see, there's no way that Battler's voiceless scream would reach Rosa or Maria. The two of them could be seen in the rose garden. The rain was still awful, but fortunately, the wind had died down a little. No, maybe that wasn't fortunate. Because maybe, if the wind had been a little fiercer, Rosa might have hesitated to go outside. Oh well, I'm sure nothing foreboding or evil might happen. Looks like something came up, so I will be back in just a moment for you guys, but I've got to go do something, so it might be a little bit. Okay, back again. Sorry about that. Maria found her own rose with the gold lace and stared at it lovingly. Rosa had accepted with the promise that Maria would only have one look at it. But she looked at it twice, and that just wasn't okay with Rosa. But she didn't want Maria to complain that it hadn't been enough later on. So she decided to go along with Maria until she was satisfied. She believed that there wasn't a culprit. But on the off chance that she was mistaken, they were now in an extremely dangerous position. Good on that, Rosa. Rosa finally realized that faintly herself. If things got bad, she would throw away her umbrella and ready her gun. After glancing at Maria's innocent happiness, Rosa gazed warily in all directions. Maria, please. Were her eyes just tired? Even though no one should have been there, she thought she saw something glitter in the dark rose garden. Gold-colored? It had to be her imagination. Because to Rosa, it seemed as though gold butterflies were dancing through the rose bushes. Why didn't you bring your gold butterfly net? Oh yeah, you sound just absolutely wonderful right now. Eva was breathing wildly. Beads of sweat were appearing on her forehead. It certainly was true that she had stayed up all night since last night, and that things had been rough since early this morning. It wasn't odd that her body wasn't keeping up. I mean, that's what happens. If you stay up too much, your heart rate starts increasing and you feel like you're racing constantly. Even though he understood that, Hideyoshi suspected that the sudden fever was the sign of some serious illness. Several times Hideyoshi decided to call Dr. Nanjo, but Eva resisted firmly, pleading with him and saying that it was more important that he didn't take his hand away.
でもな、お昼になったら必ず南條先生に見てもらうんやで。それを約束できるなら、ずっとここにいて、お前の手を握ってあるからな。こうして来やがったな。
ありがとう。大丈夫よ。あなたの手の魔法で。必ずこんな熱なんか下がっちゃうから。
Even if she said that, Eva's harsh breathing didn't improve in the slightest. Are you sure you don't want to see the doctor? I'm just saying, this sounds bad. she saw an umbrella moving from beyond the rose bush. Rosa threw away her umbrella and wildly lifted her gun. When she did, the shadow of a person beyond the bush showed itself.
エヴァおばさん。びっくりしたわ。姉さんなの？何かご用？さっきの話の続きなの
？Now this is interesting, isn't it? And I highly suspect that, for whatever reason, Eva lying in the bed is somehow being affected by this Eva here, maybe because it's her younger self somehow, maybe some weird time paradox is going on and it's causing her pain. I don't know. I don't know.
ええ、そうよ。お父様の黄金の話よ。お願いだからマリアの前では遠慮して、ちゃんと約束は守ってるわよ。姉さんの悪巧みの邪魔はしないわ。悪巧み？何それ？姉さんが何を考えていても勝手よ。私は邪魔する気なんてない。だからマリアの前では許して。私は分け前さえもらえれば十分なの。分け前
Yeah, this is definitely new, Beatrice. Is it the same voice actor or a different voice actor for the younger Eva? There's definitely a noticeable different voice, but it might just be an inflection of the same voice actor. Eva started laughing in a creepy voice. Rosa was startled, but Maria stared blankly. Then Maria said just one thing.
おばさん、誰
Okay then.
分け前？誰がお前にやるものか。あれは全て私のもの。この黄金の魔女、ベアトリーチェのものよ。
エヴァ、大丈夫か？エヴァ、エヴァ、エヴァ。
握っていて、離さないで。私じゃない誰かに連れ去られないように。私の手を握っていて、離さないで。お前が何を努力したの？何も努力してない。いつも私たちの影に隠れてのらりくらり。いつも戦わずに影から影へと逃げ回っていたお前に、後ろ宮家の黄金を無心する資格など本当にあると思ってるの？あれは全て私のもの。後ろ宮家当主にして新しき黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェの名を継承した私だけのもの。ベアトリーチェ、ベアトリーチェだ。ママ。
You look different than the last time I saw you. Maria jumped at her mother in ecstasy. Rosa treated Maria cold-heartedly and raised her gun high.
姉さんよね。姉さんなのよね。違うわ。私はもはやあなたの姉であった存在ではないの。じゃああんた誰なのよ。ベアトリーチェだとでも言うの？
She did. She actually did just say that.
あんたは19年前に死んだのよ。ええ、確かに死んでいたわ。だって私、
Oh
あなたの
yeah.
頭が割れているところをはっきり見たもの。
I forgot it. Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't forget about that, but I kind of disassociated it with this timeline. But Rosa definitely had that story, this timeline, where she more or less killed Beatrice.
その中身が溢れ出しているのを昨日のことのように思い出せる。そのあんたがどうして生きてここにいるのよ。黄金の魔女に死の概念などないの。 黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェの名は永遠に受け継がれてるか？お前が知っていたベアトリーチェは死を迎えたかもしれないが、今やそれは私の名である。故に無限、ベアトリーチェに死の概念はないの。
あの黄金に気が触れたとしか思えない。哀れね、姉さん。
もはや私はお前の姉ではないというのに。さて、新しきベアトリーチェとして自らの復活の儀式を引き継ぐわ。ロノウェ、私はどうすればいいの？
Oh yeah, now it's only gonna get weirder. Of course, because they're going to die, I guess it doesn't matter what they see, does it?
もはやベアトリーチェ様にはどのような思いも実現できる力がおありです。少し扱えばなれるでしょう。
不甲斐なき元妹よ、私が魔女として初めて捧げる最初の生贄に選ばれたことを光栄に思うがいい。第2の番に寄り添う2人を私がこの手で引き裂く。
Are Maria and Rosa that close? I get that I guess they kinda are. You're right. First thing the new Beatrice wished. No, the first magic she tried to use was to surpass the limitations given to humans. In particular, gravity. She wanted to become fully aware of her transformation into a witch by being released from those shackles. As the witch and Rosa stayed as they were, the ground retreated all by itself into the distance below them. By now, their feet were no longer attached to the ground. Rosa finally realized that the ground wasn't retreating into the distance below them, but that she and the witch were being sucked up into the rainy sky. Much cooler than Beatrice. Beatrice never sucked anyone into the sky. For a human shackled to the ground by gravity, there is nothing more unnerving than having their feet stop sticking to the ground. However, to Beatrice, who knew the joy of being released from gravity as the new witch, it was enough to cause her whole body to shake with delight.
ねえローザ、昔小さい頃魔女になって空が飛べたらなって話したことあるの覚えてる？叶ったよ。私が本当の魔女になって叶えてあげたわ。
やめてよ。夢なら覚めて。
あなた言ったわ、夢の中で空を飛んだって。そして覚めたくなかったとも言ったわ。起こした私を恨んだともね。安心して、今度は覚めないわよ。
Yeah, you're definitely dead. Like, you tripped so many death flags really hard. Come dance with me in the vast rainy sky. Didn't we both wish you could fly like seagulls in the sky? And escape the narrow and boring island of Rokkenjima? Now I'll make that dream a reality for you. Because I only want to share this joy with you, and no one else.
ちっぽけさに今こそ本当に呆れるわ。だからこそ感じて楽しんで喜んで、私たちが憧れた大空を自由にする力を。さあ踊ろうよローザ。雨の中を風の中を私たちは踊るように飛び回ろう。稲光が私たちを照らして祝福してくれるわ。
The witch and Rosa were like leaves fluttering around in a whirlwind. As the rain pounded upon every part of their bodies, as the lightning occasionally shone upon them, they shook with the joy of being released from the ground. However, it was only that way for the witch. Rosa was holding onto her head, voicelessly screaming over and over. A slightly displeased expression rose to the witch's face when she realized that her own joy was not being shared. Then, she decided to listen to her former sister's request. The whirlwind that had been making Rosa dance around grew weaker, and then stopped. See, Rosa, you should have rephrased that a little bit better, like, can you let me down gently or something? In other words, Rosa was once again bound by the restrictions of gravity as a human. Following the laws that were originally correct, Rosa began to descend towards the ground upside down. No, she began to fall. Fall's a good word. The witch hadn't intended to send Rosa plummeting, but she still wasn't used to using magic. And that's why you've got to ask nicely. After plummeting about 100 meters into a rose bush, as a very, very natural result, Rosa died instantly. But the witch hadn't intended to kill her, so she wished that Rosa didn't die. When she did, gold butterflies coiled about Rosa's body, reviving that life just as the witch had wished. Rosa's body, which should have been spread out like a carpet of fresh blood, rapidly returned to normal. The broken and crushed bones returned to normal. The torn and smashed flesh returned to normal. How easy it is to break things in this world, and how difficult it is to fix them. Anyone can take a life, but no human can revive a lost life. By surpassing the irreversible, one proves that they have surpassed humans. This surely gave her a much, much greater realization that she was a witch than flying through the sky had.
ベアトリーチェ様はすでに無限の魔女とならせられます。生きること、死すこと、生かすことも殺すことも、すべてを無限に繰り返され、その輪廻を支配する女王こそが無限の魔女であられるベアトリーチェ様なのです。
金魚鉢を落としたことがあるわ。涼しげな美しい鉢が割れてしまって二度と元に戻らなかった。床に叩きつけられた可愛いデメキンは二度と泳ぐ姿を見せてくれなかった。私がいくら泣いても使用人たちは壊れたものと死んだものは蘇らせられないと首を横に振ったっけ。あの時学んだのよね。物は壊しちゃいけない、人は殺しちゃいけないって。だって直せないんだもん。じゃあ直せるなら壊しても怒られないということでしょ。すごいすごいすごいすごい
That's one way to look at it, I suppose. For a while, the witch became intoxicated with how terrible and wonderful the power she had succeeded was. Her laugh was pure, innocent, and also cruel. So how does Rosa feel about this? Yeah. Even though Rosa had been revived, she let out a cry of anguish at the pain from her fall. At that point, the witch landed and held out her hand.
飛ぶのがこんなに楽しいとは思わなかったわ。ごめんなさい。ほんと。そして人間がこんなにもろく死ぬとも知らなかったの。でも生き返らせてあげたからもう平気だから起きて。私ともっと遊びましょう。
I love that laugh, it's great. What were those dreams you told me about when you were a kid? Go ahead and tell me about all of them without holding back. As I am now, I can make anything come true, no matter how absurd. Even making you fall into a sea of jelly. Even having you get sucked into a mountain of cake. I can even make you sprout butterfly wings and let you walk around the garden, okay? I'll do them one after another. Let's start with the ocean of jelly, okay? Rosa was once again thrown high into the rainy sky. However, the sky wasn't filled with raindrops, but with drops of orange juice. When she looked down, Rosa had to doubt her eyes. The rose garden had disappeared, and the ground spread out beneath her was like a pastel-colored jigsaw puzzle. It was from the dream she had talked about when she was young, an ocean of jelly. The black part was coffee jelly. The red was strawberry. The yellow was pineapple. The green was melon. What was the white part? Apple? Did Rosa even have time to think about something like that? Rosa fell towards that multicolored ocean. And sunk deep into the purple grape-flavored ocean. It really was an ocean of jelly. It had no bottom. As Rosa sank, she was shocked to see a school of transparent fish swimming through the great jelly ocean. They were probably made of grape skin. Then she sunk on, deeper and deeper, as deep as the Marianas Trench. Crushed by the water pressure of the jelly ocean. Ow! As her ribs snapped, as her spine snapped. In the end, she'd become a small, frail meatball. Whoops. Forgot about that thing. You didn't even attempt to swim up? What's wrong with you, Rosa? Haven't you ever swum in a grape ocean before? Or jelly ocean? I suppose you're correct. The instant I snapped my fingers, the meatball that had been Rosa was launched up into the sky. And after being wrapped up in a golden sparkle, she returned to her original form. It was as simple and easy as returning dried seaweed to its original form, and anyone could do it. If they were a witch. That absent-minded look on Rosa's face has to be because of the joy from having that dream she had been given up on as a child made into reality. Definitely. Probably. Next is the mountain of cake. In an instant, the sky was covered and became black and white in the shape of a chessboard. That almost transparent white part was her favorite rare cheesecake. The elegant black part was a slightly bitter gâteau et chocolat, I guess. That became the ceiling, became a mountain. Several billion cakes were thrown down towards Rosa. If you piled those cakes up, they would surely be taller than Mount Everest. So they probably weighed... I'm not too sure, but it was probably heavier than all the cakes across Japan put together. That sounds heavy. Like very heavy. Yeah. It fell down like a ceiling and swallowed Rosa up. So, as a very, very natural result, Rosa was crushed to death. By cake, of all things. In less than a second. Her bones broke throughout her body, and her insides were all smashed and forced out. Ugh. Even so, an even greater number of cakes piled up on top. And Rosa ended up as a layer of jam wedged between the cakes. She became as thick as a single hair, and was probably smashed out into the area of a tennis court. That world swallowed up by cake was once again absorbed by a gold flash. Then, as though it had all been a dream, Rosa was revived once again. Of course, it definitely wasn't a dream. She'd been revived after dying. By that point, death, which most humans only have to experience once after they are born, had already been experienced repeatedly by Rosa. In other words, she'd gone through that which humans cannot, the precious experience of dying more than once. What is this laugh she has?
次は蝶々だよ。ほら。
もう許して。
ああ。ダメ。もっと遊ぼうよ。もっと遊ぼう。
This is why wording your wishes extremely carefully is important.